This is Barbarian and welcome in another video. This time it's gonna be a Matrial Sage guy. We recently swapped the class. Farm worker passive doesn't seem really make any sense. That's why we decided to swap. So when it comes to gear, ideally you'll be looking for critical rate and counter strike. If the critical rate and counter strike would be near 90%, I would look for region to boost our passive. So at the moment I'm 90% critical strike and 71% critical rate. When it comes to the counter multiplier, we're looking at 17,686, which is quite nice. Now let's go to the skills. So pretty standard stuff. I'm using Blitz Assault, Wordy Snare to boost our critical damage, Smoke Bomb. Hunger Slashes is a great defensive option with a 20% damage resistance, and a Clone Strike. Clone Strike is really optional. Mostly I use it in PvE content. In PvP, I swap it for the Wild Quest. Clone usually dies before the Blitz Assault wears off, so there's really no point to have it. Most of the fights don't last long enough to cast the second clone unless it's a fight against the warrior. Pulse. So I'm using the toothpaste, dog, turtle, sprite for energy regen, as I said, depending on the content I'm doing, and a deer. Most of the time I swap the dragon with the Hydro Sprite, depending on situation, but soon they're gonna release a new type of gear, therefore our critical rate and counter strike value will go up. So I will get rid of the Rainbow Guardian because I will make up the 10% of the counter. 100% counter damage is not as much, so I would rather replace it with the Treasure Dragon permanently. That will make more sense, but we have to wait for the new gear. Let's have a look at the artifact pieces, and that's the most important bit in my opinion, because every single time when you increase the level, it's going to increase the counter damage. As you can see, it's a global combo set. The thing is that I got nearly the perfect rolls on it, because we got the global counter 10% and it gives us 600% counter damage. I've tried wearing a piece with a counter damage as a four piece global counter, but even with the global combo damage, 600% counter is much more than any counter damage piece that I have. As a mount, I'm using the slime at the moment, so I have only mounts that are available from the rush events. The only difference when I use the Pyre Breaker is the world boss. The fight is quite long, we can land a lot of attacks, and it's gonna boost our critical rate and damage even higher. Soon I'm planning to swap for the Flying Carpet. I think that will be the next event on my server. That would give us a chance to use the Clone Strike twice. That would be very beneficial in any boss fights. It's more of a RNG based mount, but I think if you can land the passive heal 15% or the second clone, that would be perfect for our class. As an artifact, I would recommend the Eye of the Raven. With the carpet, we can cast, if we're lucky enough, we can cast another clone. If not, the safe option, that will be one of the PvP artifacts. I do not participate in the pay events, that's why I don't have access to any of them. Warlord's Hammer is the only artifact that you can get from the Lucky Spinner event, but it's not as useful for the warrior class as for an archer. When it comes to the wings, that will be the same story. I'm using the standard raccoon tail, so we're gonna progress for another one. But ideally, you want to use either the defensive wings with 10% boost. Pepper wings are quite good, and the new summer parasol from the duck event, it's either giving us a shield equals 30% max HP on the warrior is a massive boost. The other option is the attack speed. Cosmic Rescue is also a great option. You get free shields based on your HP. Let's have a look at our runs. So the first one I picked, that will be the counter and pal damage. I really want to try the pal build later on. We've managed to get the mythic healing, which is quite good as a passive. Obviously the next option, that will be the HP, and from there we can focus on crit defense and crit resistance. When it comes to the attack bonus and basic attack damage, I'll leave them to as last runes, same as combo damage. When it comes to the pet, ideally you'll be looking for a counter damage. It's this one here. This pet's passive doesn't really work for us. I'm trying to breed Anubis with the counter damage pet. We will see how it turns out. So far no luck. Let's have a look at the relics. So I'm using a critical mask. You can go with the counter depending which stat is lacking. As I said, ideally you'll be looking at 90-ish% counter and 80 plus critical, because with the world listener passive you're gonna have additional 10%. I'm using Thunder Kite. Each skill summon lighting that deals damage. Here, depending on the content, when I'm against the boss that pretty much one shot me, I'm using the immunity book. But any other scenario, I'm using the book that gives us the damage reduction. Here, depending on the content I'm doing, I'm using either the stone necklace that boosts our clone, I'm using a crimson sickle necklace that give us back the HP when we use the wild gust. Here I'm using the statue to increase the time of the hunger slashes, the damage reduction passive. And here I'm using the crystal to boost the attack speed of a Dogopal. So ideally there are two ways to build up this character. You can either go with the very high HP percentage and then use all the type of wings, mounts, souls that boost our HP and skill cooldown. So we can trigger our passive multiple times and it's gonna regen more and more HP. Or we can go with the high defense stat and crit and counter multipliers. Cross server PvP, yeah, it became a chore because we are not spending on those big events where you can get 10% boost to the stats for each type of wings and mounts that we're getting. Yeah, but we do our best. I really hope that they're gonna release this update with a new gear anytime soon, so we can increase our stats. I'm sitting at 160,000 lamps at the moment. I spent around 100,000 to optimize the gear. And that will be everything for today. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and sub the channel, and I'll see you in another video.